Let's get right into it. Number 7. The scientist who drank cholera. Imagine looking at a deadly disease outbreak and deciding, you know what, I'm going to put this inside me to prove a point. This was not a dare. This was Jon Snow. No, not the brooding Game of Thrones guy. The 19th century British doctor who became the father of modern epidemiology. London in 1854 was in the middle of a cholera nightmare. Everyone thought it was caused by bad air because the idea of invisible germs was just too sci-fi for Victorians to take seriously. Snow suspected it was actually the drinking water, specifically from a public pump on Broad Street. So, to prove it, he didn't just test the water. Oh no, he drank it, voluntarily, knowing full well cholera could liquefy his insides and send him to an early grave. Luckily for him and history, that particular glass didn't have enough bacteria to kill him, but the stunt helped him prove the link between contaminated water and cholera. Officials removed the pump handle, the outbreak slowed, and Jon Snow became a public health hero. What textbooks rarely mention is that his heroic experiment was basically microbial Russian roulette, except the revolver was a Victorian water pump and the bullets were invisible death microbes. Number 6. The man who let a leech live in his eye. File this one under nature horror you can't unsee. In 2012, a man in China went to the doctor complaining that his eye hurt and his vision was blurry. That's when the doctor noticed something moving inside his eyeball. No, it wasn't an optical illusion, it was a live leech. Apparently, the man had been washing his face in a mountain stream a few days earlier. A baby leech must have latched onto his eye tissue, decided it was prime real estate, and started feeding on the blood vessels there. By the time doctors saw it, the thing was fat, wriggling, and very much alive. It took a delicate procedure to extract it without rupturing his eye. The man fully recovered, but the mental image will haunt anyone who's ever thought nature is beautiful. This case is sometimes buried in parasitology textbooks under sterile language like ocular hirudiniasis, which is code for your nightmare fuel just got a Latin name. Number 5. The scientist who injected himself with horse blood. In the late 19th century, French physiologist Charles-Édouard Brown-Séquard was obsessed with finding the secret to eternal youth. His grand theory? That injecting himself with an extract made from animal testicles would make him stronger, smarter, and, well, let's just say more vigorous. So he started taking a mix made from crushed dog and guinea pig testicles, injected straight into his veins. And according to him, it worked. He claimed he felt rejuvenated, more energetic, and in better shape than he'd been in years. Unfortunately, modern science suspects he was just riding the placebo wave while also playing a dangerous game of, let's see what this does to my immune system. But here's the part that doesn't make it into textbooks. The whole idea spawned the early, anti-aging industry and led other scientists to do even more bizarre youth serum experiments. None of them worked long-term, of course, unless you count accelerating the speed at which you become the weird old man yelling about elixirs. Number 4. The Russian doghead experiments. If you thought Frankenstein was fiction, welcome to early 20th century Soviet science. In the 1940s, scientist Sergei Brukhonenko became obsessed with proving he could keep organs alive outside the body. His most infamous demonstration involved a severed dog's head connected to a primitive heart-lung machine. The head, according to reports, could blink, lick its mouth, and even react to sounds. Brukhonenko filmed these experiments and showed them at conferences to stunned audiences, and the footage still exists. It's exactly as unsettling as you'd imagine. A living head on a metal tray, moving like it doesn't realize the rest of its body is missing. While Brukhonenko's research did help develop life support technology, it's also a haunting reminder that scientific progress sometimes comes with a side order of pure nightmare fuel. And yes, some medical history textbooks mention him, but they usually leave out the severed dog head licking its lips detail, because that tends to ruin lunch breaks. Number 3. The lake that suffocates people. It sounds like a campfire story, a lake that silently kills without warning, but it's real. And it happened in Cameroon in 1986. Lake Nyos sits in a volcanic crater, and under its calm surface, carbon dioxide had been building up for decades. One night, that gas suddenly erupted from the lake in a massive invisible cloud. The CO2 rolled downhill into nearby villages, displacing the oxygen in the air. Over 1,700 people and thousands of animals died in their sleep, never waking up. Survivors described waking to find loved ones dead, livestock collapsed, and the eerie stillness of a world without birds or insects making noise. The event is called a limnic eruption, and it's so rare most people never hear about it unless they take a very specific earth science class. It's in the textbooks, but usually as a few bland sentences under natural disasters, which is a bit like describing a horror movie as a short drama with unusual lighting. Nay. Number 2. The surgeon who operated on himself. In 1961, Soviet doctor Leonid Rogozov was stationed at a remote Antarctic base when he developed severe abdominal pain. He diagnosed himself with appendicitis, the kind that, without surgery, will kill you in days. Problem was, he was the only doctor there, and the nearest hospital, over 1,000 miles away. with no way to get there. So Rogozov did the only thing he could. He performed his own appendectomy. With 2 assistants handing him tools and holding a mirror, he opened his own abdomen, removed the inflamed appendix, and stitched himself back up. It took about 2 hours, during which he had to stop several times because he was getting dizzy from blood loss. Miraculously, he survived and was back on duty in 2 weeks. Today, medical textbooks often list it as an example of extreme self-surgery, but they tend to downplay the part where the man literally stared into his own guts and kept going like it was just another Tuesday. Number 1. The man who counted his own heartbeats until he died. This one feels like it belongs in a gothic short story, but it's a true case buried in old medical history. In the 1800s, a man named Dr. John Deering volunteered for a strange experiment to measure how digitalis, a drug derived from foxglove, affected the heart. The drug can treat certain heart conditions in tiny doses, but in high amounts, it's straight up poisonous. Deering agreed to take a large dose and count his own pulse out loud so the observing doctors could record what happened. As the drug took hold, his heartbeat slowed, then became irregular. He kept counting, voice growing weaker, until finally he stopped, because his heart had. He literally tracked himself into the grave. Textbooks that mention this event often skip over the morbid detail that the man basically narrated his own death for science. It's one of those, we learned something important moments that also doubles as a, this is why you don't volunteer for Victorian medical trials PSA. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.